Hi, everybody. This is Bill McDonald, the Reading and Writing Doctor here. Welcome to our first free sample video of our CREST online summer training series. CREST, for those of you who are not aware, stands for Constructed Response, Editing, Extended Essay, and Short Textual online series. It's all the new items that Texas is adding to our test so that 75% of the test or less is multiple choice. And what I like about that is that we live in an open-ended world. Until we get into classrooms, we're almost always in too many classrooms. It's A, B, C, D, or F, G, H, J. And so I got so tired of that when I chose my online version of the test to use with you. I don't even let you see a letter. They just see selections, and you have to click and select one of the four or sometimes more choices depending on which test we're doing. But today is CREST Part 1, Lesson 4, Spelling Open-Ended with sentences written by actual elementary and secondary students in Texas from the binder. Today, we're going to use page 90. So if you have the binder, it doesn't even matter if you signed up for one or more of the CREST trainings. You can go to the binder on page 90 if you have a recent version of it, and you'll be able to practice an open-ended spelling format where I looked at actual students' essays in May and said, let me see the sentences that have spelling mistakes. And what I did was, if there were other mistakes, as much as possible, I tried to eliminate the mistakes that were, because this one is focused on spelling, I eliminated everything that was capitalization or usage, punctuation, run-ons, fragments, quirky sentences that had weird content. I tried to fix them and make them focus just on one skill at a time because of what I call scaffolding and starting at the bottom of the ladder. So some of you are not in the CREST training, so I'm going to make sure that I briefly explain how we got to this point and where we're going to be by the end of the this part 1 after we've gone through all of the sections for editing. And I want to say that I'm wearing glasses right now to help me see better. And I knew another guy, a superhero named Clark Kent, who wore glasses. Maybe it was just part of his disguise. But I want to say right up front, everyone, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, both on content and in my character. And I'll be the first to admit, because I'm not a huge corporation or company, I don't have a million teachers or a million friends or employees to help me, but I try to do the best that I can and give the best materials, the best content, the best trainings, the best visual, verbal, auditory, and kinesthetic ways to help you remember things. So hold on tight. You're going to watch a video. It's going to be somewhere between, I'm guessing, 1 hour to 2 hours at the most. Just watch little bits at a time if you want to. But let me just say up front, I've already done these tests, both the open-ended spelling one and the online multiple choice one that looks similar to our test, but with one exception. Even though the state said, I talked to the director of content for the test, and I sent that email to all of you guys. I showed that in Facebook, and he said that for editing and revising, there's only going to be 1-point questions. Now, because only 75% of the questions can be multiple choice, 25% of the test will be 1-point questions in editing of the constructed type response. And I'll show you those in a moment. But I want to say right up front that if and when we see mistakes going live in my recorded webinars, my recorded trainings, my online session stuff development, then I will fix that mistake after the video is over, and then I'll upload it. And if you happen to see one yourself that I don't notice, go ahead and email me at the word writing _ doctor spelled out at yahoo.com. Let me know the mistake that you saw in something in my content or in my conventions. And that way we can work together to turn in the best product, because I don't want it to be about me. I do have a team, and I mentioned to all of you in the CREST training in this email that I have a team of people who are very good at editing. 3 out of my 4 children were in UIL in journalism, and they were very excellent. In fact, my son just this year as a senior tied for 5th place in the entire state of Texas. So I have them look at my content and my conventions and help me with the overall, but I'm not Jesus. So go ahead and kindly and compassionately email me at writing_doctor@yahoo.com, or you can message me if you would like to sign up for the webinar because you watched this free one, one or more. You will get, the way it's going to work is for $50 each. When you go to the link on my website, you'll enter 1, 2, or 3 if you only want the editing or the revising, the constructed response, the short answer, or the extended essay. If you only want 1, 2, or 3 of those, enter that quantity, and then in the notes or comments, go ahead and let me know which ones you want. If you only enter a quantity of 1, comma, but you don't tell me which one that you want, I won't know. I try to make it easy so that I didn't have to have 5 or 6 different pages to go to sign up. So here's the cool thing. If you enter a quantity of 4 until the end of June, if you're watching this before June is out in summer of 2022, then you'll get the 5th one for free. Now, if you're watching it at any time in July, my price will be $100 for each video, or $400 for all 5. And then once school starts in August, I'm going to basically be going back to, I'm going to be charging anywhere between, depending on how many hours each part takes, it'll be anywhere between $600 to $1,000 for each part. So I would highly suggest that if you're thinking about getting the CREST online trainings, the next 5 or 6 days before the end of this month is your last chance to do so for the rock bottom of the barrel price. And I know that you'll get some benefit because I have a team of over 7,000 teachers in my reading and writing club who watch my videos and participate, and several of you are already sharing. So I just wanted to say all that so before we get started, because some of you might be watching me for the first time ever and don't know anything about the CREST webinar. So if you're watching this on Facebook because somebody shared it with you, go to the original my original post, or just click on my name and message me or email me, like I said, at writing_doctor@yahoo.com. If you have any questions, I would love to come to your school and work with you and or your students. I already have about more than I can count of trainings lined up for this summer and the school year, because everyone from 3rd grade all the way to 10th grade has to do the new item test, where at least 25% of the questions have to be constructed type, short answer, or for reading teachers only, editing and revising, and the extended essay. You're going to get one question and 2 people are going to read it. And the most that one person can give you is 1 point for answering the question. A second point, this is going to be the simplest way I can explain it. A second point, if you can tell me where you can prove your answer with evidence. A third point, if you can develop your response with depth, explain your examples, express yourself in written word. And then the last 2 points, the 4th and the 5th point, are worth the conventions part. And if you've been following me for any length of time, last week I posted what TEA is calling the draft rubric for how to get those 5 points. So it's 3 points based on the organization and development of the response, and 2 points on the conventions. Conventions is the grammar, the editing, what we call the cups. So without further ado, thank you for watching this free video, and I will get started by sharing what the people have seen so far. We have done like 4 videos so far with the CREST people on level 1 and level 2, because everything should be scaffolded so that you can build on a strong foundation. So my binder, the Dear Duck binder that we're going to look at today, page 90, goes from letters, so that we can talk about penmanship on paper and PC with keyboarding skills. And we learned lots of S words. And you saw, if you watched my Facebook the other day, you saw the winner who posted an anchor chart with the superheroes that we discussed there. The second level, which we're on these past few days, is spelling / vocabulary / transitions. And so today you're going to be watching open-ended spelling practice, with the key component of being the words that were misspelled the most were words with double consonants. So the challenge, the first challenge, is to come up with that, some double consonant words that are 1 syllable, 2 syllables, or 3 syllables or more, because I want to be able to help students of all grade level. And if you email me or message me your word list, what I'll do is I'll put them all together for you, and we'll make a nice list of double consonant words. We can get that from anywhere, but if we can think of some together, I see double consonants even on this page. Okay. The third part of part 1 is phrases, and we'll work on capitalization, going from the small parts of capitalization to the big, from just a word, the pronoun I, to phrases such as the city and the state, to being able to capitalize the beginning of a word in a whole sentence. Level 4 in the binder and on our part 1 training is sentences. Punctuation, we'll talk about yellow for slowing down and red for stopping punctuation marks. Level 5 is for when we're ready for paragraphs, editing paragraphs when we read. And we'll be able to work on usage and subject verb agreement. So you have to decide how much time, if you're going to teach skills in isolation, this is the order that I would suggest that you would go. We're going to start reading entire passages, then by that time, hopefully your students will have read enough sentences. Will they be able to recognize run-ons that have too many words without punctuation, or fragments, there's too much punctuation without words. And then finally, the highest level is extended essays of some type, where you check 3 things like we talked about. How well developed is it? How organized is it in terms of the purpose of the writing? And extended essay responses are going to be informative, but they're going to have you explain yourself. Give information from text in an expository type format, because all of the sample questions do say explain, and that's in the form of expository. But because it's conventions on part 1, we'll be focusing on how to not just edit a passage that's got multiple choice, but we'll edit an essay that is open-ended. So everybody who signed up for all 5 parts last week should have already received 25 of these advanced ELAR writing folders. And so if you're a reading teacher, you definitely need a digital or a hard copy of this. I'll send a link in the next couple of days. A lot of you have been asking. I can't sign up for the training because I'm limited on budget, but I love the materials. So I'll make sure the hard copies of these are $25, and the digital copy are going to be about 10 or 15. I can't remember off the top of my head. But as you can see here, you can see the 1-point or 2-point multiple choice questions and the different kinds you can get. You see a section for the short constructed response, where I use the colors of the traffic light to get the 2 points. What's the answer? Where and why is the answer? And then part B, the evidence. And you can go from a red light to a yellow light to a green light to get the 2 on short answer responses that require evidence. And then for those of you that are doing, all the reading teachers from 3rd through 10th grade are going to have 1 question in May that's going to be informative in its purpose, but also expository in the way that it's written. It's called an extended essay response, where again, we'll go from a red light to a yellow light to the green light. And I've asked TA in an email, how much closure do we need to bring? How much of everything, like these shoes, how much has to be tied together? Because in a good essay, everything ties together, from the topic, which would be the question, the idea that your students choose, a central idea, controlling idea, or thesis, depending on if you're elementary, they'll say central idea. If you're 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, they'll ask you for a controlling idea statement, as you can see the eyeball there. And if you're 9th or 10th grade, they'll ask you for a thesis. So once you get the topic, you've got to start brainstorming different ways to answer it. But I don't want to get too far into that, but I just want you to see what you have available to you if you sign up. When you're editing, we just learned on steps 6 and 7, we're going to be editing passages that we read and essays that we write. And the one we're working on today is spelling, where you see the word, you take a picture. What does it look like? We're going to say the word, and we're going to hear and listen to syllables, either by clapping or snapping. We're going to hopefully be able to see what doesn't look right or hear what doesn't sound right or both. Then we'll use our first B, our brain, to think, does that look or sound right? Have I seen this word before? Have I seen one like it, but a different way? Is it the wrong spelling? And if I just don't know, the good thing about reading, we're allowed to use another B called the book, the dictionary, either the online dictionary if you have access to that, or the good old paper and hardback dictionary combined / thesaurus, and then you'll end up being able to write the right answer. So that's why that S is there for cups with 2 S's, because we have to end up checking for sentence boundary issues. All the questions we're going to see today in multiple choice and open-ended are, number 1, what change or what correction should be made in sentence blank? When you see change, you'll underline change and you'll label cups, which means the mistake 99.9% of the time is capitalization, usage, punctuation, or spelling. So if you feel like this is helping you, this free video, go ahead and share it with somebody. Again, it's going to be between an hour and 2 hours long. We won't get into them today because that's lesson number 6 when we get up there. Whenever it says what is the correct or best way to write a sentence singular, that's a ROF, which means run on a fragment, and I'll be modeling that for you with an online test and some practice, some strategies that will work. And the third way you might see a sentence in editing from 3rd through 10th grade is what is the correct or best way to write sentences, plural, and those are usually SAFs, where the first one is a sentence and the second one is a fragment, or the first one is the fragment and the second one is the sentence. So please change your posters, your anchor charts to 2 S's for sure. And if you really believe in the importance of superhero penmanship, kids, with paper and pencil, using Iron Man, where no letters touch, or Aquaman, where we're writing cursive, then check out that video about all the S's of the structure of letters and how they should look so that we can build from there. All right. Then we go on to, very quickly, the same cups, 2 S's. And there's my S that I was talking about. What superhero? Superman, Iron Man print, Aquaman cursive, keyboarding, print, no letters touching, the spacing, the size, lots of things. But the one we're going to focus on today in lesson 4 is going to be seeing, saying, hearing and listening to the word, using our brain to think about the pattern or the rule if we've seen it before. And if we don't know, then we'll use our book called the dictionary. If I don't know the word and I'm going to pretend like I don't know some words, I'm going to just be using my phone just so I can get quick access. Then we'll write the right answer, hopefully at the end. All right. So for those of you who don't already have a structure, there you see all of those pictures again. So we need to be consistent across our content. Whatever we're doing has to kind of be something that works in all situations. So for editing and revising, we're improving the conventions for editing. And when we're doing revising, we're improving the content. And so all of you from 3rd through 10th grade, starting next May, are going to have 2 passages of editing and 2 of revising. And the first thing that your kids should do is read the questions, because in editing and revising, I'm going to be showing you in the revising part how to go from simple to complex. The editing questions usually only ask about 1 or 2 sentences in the entire passage. So even if it has 50 sentences, they might only ask you about 3 questions, about 3 sentences from those 50. So as we're reading solo, alone, or as a group, if we're reading as a class or in a group, we can read loudly. That's the LO. We're reading with a partner or by ourselves, we should read softly. That means everybody should be opening their mouth. I will say this once and for all, silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners. If you are having kids just look at a test, but they never open their mouth, you see on these last 4 pictures, they all have hands. If they don't do something kinesthetically, verbally, or auditorily, it'll be the reason that they fail. And it's probably the #1 reason that kids struggle is because we don't require them or model for them how to go to the visual, verbal, auditory, and kinesthetic level of teaching skills. So once we read each question in open-ended and multiple choice format, we'll be underlining important things so we can understand. We'll label the way you mark the test, whether it's on paper or in a PC. I use brackets. I used to underline, but I was finding out that I was underlining periods and commas, so I stopped doing that. If it's multiple choice, we eliminate and explain the wrong answers. If it's open-ended, we will eliminate the words that don't have a problem, and we'll just select the ones that do, and we'll write those correctly or type those correctly, and we'll do our best to explain either with our written words or our spoken words, since we're doing this test verbally today, which answers we're going to select and which ones we're going to eliminate. Remember that when you do the Scantron starting this coming year, I want to show you the old way here, that it used to be that all the odd numbers, odd being 1 vowel, the 1, 3 letters, the 3, and then you skip count from there. It used to be A, B, C, D. Even has 2 vowels, the first odd number, even number on a test, and 4 letters. So all the even numbers used to have F, G, H, J, but I was told that they're just going to stick with A, B, C, D, because I'm working with teachers all over the United States. Some of you don't even have an A, B, C, D. You just have 4 choices to pick from. So it's important that you either decide to use A, B, C, D, or just to make sure there's 4 selections. And sometimes there's going to be, I saw in multiple response answers, sometimes there's going to be more than 4 choices that they can select. So as you can see here on this left-hand corner, right there, it says multiple choice, paper and pencil tests. We can still practice with the evens and odds if you want to, but in PC Online, it's going to be just A, B, C, D in Texas. And for some of you, it's just going to be 4 little boxes, and you select on the 4 boxes. And I'm not sure, some of you read my email that are in the CREST Club. We had to do a major surgery with our dog yesterday, and he's here in the office with me. And I can hear him whining and moaning over to the side. And we have to do another surgery very soon because we found out he has heartworm. So I apologize if you hear my dog, but I just kind of told the family that I would watch him tonight and keep an eye on him, keep him out of trouble. So, all right, without further ado, let's get to the nitty-gritty. I'm going to model for you, since I've already given you in the last 2 videos strategies and activities, creative ways to teach spelling. Here's some creative ways to test spelling, so that whether you're doing it in an open-ended world with students, words, phrases, or sentences, all the way up to a paragraph or an essay, or if you're doing multiple choice format. I'm going to show you both of those ways tonight by sharing my screen with you. I'm going to share a portion of my screen. Let me do that right now. And right now I have the one that's the homophone test, but I want to start with the open-ended because we do live in an open-ended world. What I will be using is Zoom. So when you're doing practice tests throughout the year, allow your kids to get in the habit of having a special way to annotate, to keep track of what they're doing. This is from my binder. For those of you who have it, it's page 90. If you don't have it, then I'll give you plenty of time to write down these 3 sentences. Dear Doc, just so you can see, Dear Doc stands for, let me get my bouncy little ball here. Dear Doc stands for daily. It means we should all be doing something every day, not entire essays, not entire passages, but some skill every day. Let's do surgery on the things that need surgery and just band-aids on things that we need to practice that they're already good at, or stop working on things that they're already good at and do your MRIs and surgery on things they struggle with. Editing and revising. And because of reading, it's going to be reading as well of development, organization, and conventions. Because of the new test, we'll be adding in extended, essay, constructed responses. All those things are going to be part of Dear Doc. So this is page 90. Students that wrote on their essays, I went to several schools and I looked for spelling mistakes, capitalization mistakes, punctuation, run-ons, fragments. That way I could break my binder down. So from page 90 to about 116, you'll see 16 pages, 106. You'll see about 16 pages where every single page has about 10 sentences with spelling errors. And if they made a mistake in something else, I just eliminated that mistake so that we could focus on just one skill at a time, because I, contrary to many supposedly wise scholars out there, believe that if a student has never been taught the skills of grammar, he has to be taught somewhere by someone. If a student comes to me, he's either going to be a bull or he's going to be a colander. If the kids before you were never taught the basics of grammar, which is this part 1 training of capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, sentence boundaries with run-ons and fragments, and even the basics of penmanship and PC keyboarding, then they're going to be more like a colander full of holes and gaps when they get to you. And you're going to try your best to pour information into them, but they're going to struggle. And that's why I believe that sometimes when a student has never been taught a skill, we would sing like John Travolta sang, I got skill, it's multiplying. So I'm going to work on one skill at a time based on that ladder for this part 1 training. And this one just happens to be spelling. So what was it that we saw? We saw the word rules. That I'm going to go ahead and write the word rules here, that we'll read the question, underline and label. We're going to eliminate, because it's open-ended, any words that are already spelled correctly, and we'll select the ones that are misspelled and write them on the line that's provided from 1 through 5. Before I do that, I have to make sure that you can see 1 through 5, because once I move, I don't want to have to erase. I want you to be able to see all 5. See, I already, oh, I can leave it right there. I want to make sure I can leave all 5 sentences visible to you. So this is how I would teach my students, that even though I'm working on just words, I would teach my kids to see the sentence, every single word, to say capital and pretend to put on a cap for capitals, to pronounce it the way that it looks, the way that I think it's going to sound based on the syllables or the chunking. And I'll say the ending punctuation or any commas that I see as well, because the better I can get at reading with capitalization and punctuation when I'm doing some other skill on any subject, the better I'm going to be at writing with capitalization and punctuation, where we can write in complete sentences. And I think every subject and every grade level should be able to write open-ended sentences that have a subject and a predicate. That's just my philosophy. And the older your student, the more sentences he or she should be able to write by the end of the year. Think of your kid's age, ability, and that's how many sentences they should be able to write by the end of the year. If I have a 4-year-old on a 3-year-old ability, I'm going to try for 3 or more sentences by the end of the year. If I have a 4-year-old on a 7-year-old ability level, I might ask that kid to give me 7 sentences by the end of the year. And that's called differentiating your instruction, so that we can provide different levels of rigor for each student. Because if all we ever do is take our higher students, once we've taught the skill, and have them help our lower student, I call that Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, because it sounds like this: high, low, it's off to touring we go. I want to make sure that I have my highest kids, because I want as many masters as possible. I want as many 10s. May the 5s be with you, is what I'm calling myself now, because the most you're going to be able to get starting next year is a 5 from 2 different readers. Well, I've got to get really good at conventions, because the convention grade is worth 4 out of the 10 possible points when you're doing an open-ended. But before I can do an open-ended essay, I need to do an open-ended paragraph. Before I can do an open-ended paragraph, I've got to do an open-ended sentence, and I'm going to work on one skill. So as we're reading, let's go ahead and check and see, oh, what kind of mistakes can we see here? So what I'll do is I'll underline when I think that I see something wrong. You watch me in the corner for these 5. I'll try to go as quickly as I can, but I'm going to try to also take my time, because I want you to pause this video as many times as you need to, so that you can watch one piece, one puzzle at a time. Watch till you get tired, take a break, come back the next day, watch a little more. I'm not going to pull these videos down, so you can watch as many times as you want. For those of you that are there in the CREST trainings, every week I'm going to be posting 3 videos for everybody else, a little bit shorter and a lot less detailed than this one, but I wanted you guys to get an experience. What are the CREST online training people getting for their efforts? So number 1, capital, putting on the cap, the pronoun I. So real quick, a teachable moment of instruction. If you go to Walmart, they sell these little balls in the birthday party section that have eyeballs inside. And I didn't say eyeballs, I said eyeballs. There's an I in there. And so a lot of times the kids think, oh, I think I is E-Y-E, or because it's the first one in the sentence, I. No, whenever I is by itself, we're talking about the pronoun I. And so I suggest that you teach your kids the difference between those 2 homophones by buying that little ball with an eyeball inside, and say, if the letter I is by itself, check and see if it's supposed to be a pronoun or if it's supposed to be the body part. The pronoun I or the body part I. So that's just my suggestion. I call those little things that I did right there, I call those TMIs, not a too much information, but they're either, if you want to write this down in your notes, they're either teachable, let me make the right, teachable moments of instruction. If it's just something minor that you want to cover briefly and quickly, or they could be possibly teachable moments of intervention where you've already taught the skill and the kids are doing so poorly, you've got to do reteach, rewind, review. It's like watering the grass over again because some kids are not GT, they're ET, need extra time or extra times practicing a certain skill. So let's go ahead and read the rest. Was, past tense, putting my hands behind you, put in the position, singular, as a center defender on my new team. Period. I bounced the ball on the floor. So something didn't sound right to me about the word position. So I'm going to select that one and think, okay, that's the way it looks there, but it doesn't look right. And it didn't sound right when I said it. So in my brain, I've already seen the word position before. So I'm going to type on my line the way I think it's supposed to be. And because my warning was red, I'm going to use green because I get to choose any color I want here. Position. What position do you play? I'm the center defender. And then when I come out of there, when I'm in Zoom, I'm going to look at it. Yes, all my letters are on the line. My eyes, whether I'm writing on my PC or with my pencil on paper, the eyes should be little dots, not circles or stars or hearts. It should look just like that. And only one letter should be underneath the line. So when you take a look at those, that green one looks like a better picture. Number 2, switching back to red in my Zoom annotations, note-taking, capital. After about the 5th week of practice, comma, bouncing on the table, a shorter bounce, so there's that pronoun I again. I want to circle that and you got to check. Oh, are we talking about the person or a body part? I was exhausted. That is the person, so that's okay. Was exhausted. Exclamation point. That sounds right, but something doesn't look right. And I see 2 other things. When I did 5th, I didn't like the way that looked or sounded. Practice sounds good, but I'm not sure if it looks good. So I'm going to check. And just another teachable moment of instruction. Whenever you tell a person a long phrase like this, after about the 5th week of practice, that's a when introductory phrase. Whenever there are long phrases like that, at the end of the when, you typically need to put a comma. The same thing would apply to a where. If it's a very short phrase, like yesterday, I can put the comma, but when you look online about the unwritten rules of that, because it's just a 1 or 2 word phrase, last night, those are called optional commas, where you can put the comma, but you don't have to. And if you don't believe me, you can check online, but I checked myself because I saw that happen on the real test where in the passage, it was one way, but in the choices, answer choices, it was a different way with a comma. So I wanted to find out why that happened, and that's the case. Again, a teachable moment of instruction. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to type close to the word so I can see. Fifth. I think, oh, I forgot to switch to my green. Just found out I wasn't perfect already. Fifth, fifth. And so fifth is one of those words like a lot of people have trouble with fourth. And so I see that I need to move that up a little bit higher. So I'm going to click on the word select, or I can grab it and place it just a little bit higher so that when I see it, it's actually resting on the line and it has no letters below the line. That way I can practice on my PC the way I want it to look on paper. Now, another teachable moment was when I was in a golf tournament at the end of May, there were 10 flights. I just happened to be in the 9th flight. 9th comes from the word 9. Okay. And a lot of people don't realize that when you change the number to the place, you can't just add a TH, you drop the TH and write 9. And I kindly told the people in charge, hey, I write and teach writing for a living and reading. And I just wanted to let you guys know that 9th is spelled wrong. And as you could probably guess, they were not too happy with me. So it's important that whenever you do decide to help people, you might want to figure out, first of all, do they even want your help? Do they even care? Because sometimes it's just not worth the effort to bother someone. So this next one, practice. It looks close, but I'm going to write another version of practice that I think it could be and have it right next to the other one. So practice with this with 2 C's instead of a C and an S. So I'm going to, with your knowledge, there's my phone here. I'm going to pretend, oh, I don't really know about the word practice. So let me go and type in my online dictionary called Google and type the word practice, and it comes out with a C. So since I didn't know it in my brain, I looked it up in my online book called the dictionary, or my actual book. Okay. One more that I think doesn't look right is exhausted. So exhausted has a silent H. And even though we don't say exhausted, it's there. And the only way that I can teach that in a way that you might remember is the word ghost is very similar. The H is there, but it's silent. You can't really hear it. You can see it when you spell it, but when you say it, it's there. But you just don't hear it. Okay. And with a ghost, sometimes they're there, but you just might not hear them. And so that might be a way to teach the silent H. Is it a ghost H or is it a pronounced H? And again, at the end of the video, make sure you tell me, I want 3 to 5 things each time if you're in the CREST webinar, 3 to 5 things that you really enjoyed about the lesson. Number 3, capital. I was totally. Looks kind of weird to me. So I'm going to underline totally. Oops. Let me get my eraser and take that off. I'm going to change it to red. Go to draw again. I'm only telling you for some of you that are going to use Zoom for your teaching tool. Totally doesn't look right. Destroyed past tense was, and destroyed past tense after what had happened. When I say something happens, I know that it has two P's, and I don't think you can just get rid of one of the P's just because you switch to past tense and put ED. And so this is why I want some of you that are willing to take some time to come up with some double consonant words that are 1, 2, or 3 syllable words, like tell would be a 1 syllable word. Totally, and I've got to switch to green if I'm following my pattern of going from red wrong to green good. Totally. All right. And if I come off and look at it, does it look like it's resting on my, it looks like it's a little bit too low. So I'm going to select it, move it up just a hair so that my kids can see, oh, that's what totally looks like. When it's on the line, the Y will be slightly below the line. Totally. I need an ally to help me so that we can totally crush the competition. Think of cool or corny things like that that will help your kids. Happened is past tense, and because we need the double P for sure, I'm gonna place it in there, past tense, come back out, see if I'm in the right spot. It looks good enough, that's pretty cool. Happens, so I'm gonna change, I'm gonna select happens, I'll select this one and eliminate that one. And I always tell my kids, if a sentence ends with an exclamation, you can tell them, think of it as emotion, that you're emotionally involved. So I might say that sentence with more emotion, called exclamation. Capital. I was totally destroyed after what had happened. Exclamation. Yes, it's exclamation, but I'm just trying to help my kids remember. So there's 2 double consonants in a row. Next one, capital. When you really look right. So let me select it. When you really want to accomplish something, I think that's another double consonant. Comma, just try your best, period. So comma is the slowing down and the period is the stopping. So this one, because it has a subject, you, and you want to do something, accomplish something, it has a predicate. That's called a dependent clause that's followed by a dependent clause that's followed by a comma and an independent clause. That's what's also known as a complex sentence. Okay, so double consonant on the C and the L when I rewrite those. So let's go ahead and switch to text and green, and I will put that on the line as best I can. Really, I won't use capitals because it's not the first word in the sentence. You need to penalize your students if they capitalize a word in the middle of a sentence that is not a proper noun, because students are writing sentences. Some kids will write a capital at the beginning of every word. Some kids will put their lowercase y's and p's when they're using a pencil, a pen, or a pen on paper. They'll put it above the line, and I don't know if it's a penmanship problem or a capitalization problem. So make sure you penalize the kids who don't have their letters in the right position. So let's go ahead and take a look at our other one, accomplish. And I know that accomplish has two C's because I've seen that before. Accomplish, double C, let me see. And when you look at it, oh, that's too low. So again, you want to say, let's make it look the way you would want it to look if you were writing on paper or a pen on a pen or pencil on a piece of paper. The P would be halfway underlined. So we're going to eliminate accomplish and select the double consonant. We're going to eliminate the really with one L and select one with two L's. Last one. And again, if I was only teaching kinder, I might, or first grade, I might just do one sentence each day. And you can either use these or you can use your own. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just showing you if these were sentences written by students on their essays in April, that means that some of these kids were struggling with these types of words at the end of the year. These were not the beginning of the year misspellings. All right. So last one. Make sure that I didn't miss any that I already passed, so I don't have to backtrack, and I kind of see that I've gotten most of them. Capital. The man, subject singular, told, past tense, all of the contestants to go to the starting line, period, dropping the ball on the floor. So if I say it the way it looks, it doesn't look right and it doesn't sound right. So if I'm a contestant, maybe they mean contestant. A contestant is someone who's in a contest. So I'm going to start with contest. That's two syllables. So let me switch to text and green. And so I'll write the word contest and then figure out, do I want ENTS? Contestants. What do I want? ANTS. Contestants. And so if I'm not sure, then I will go to my dictionary to see which one it is. So let me pretend like I don't know. Contestants, plural. It has AN. So you've got to be careful to help kids learn the difference between the ANT words and the ENTs, because there's lots of ENT words out there. And so what I would recommend that you do, because we had several double consonants on just these 5 sentences, come up with some 1, 2, or 3 or more syllable double consonant words. Message them to me, email them to me. And what I'll do is I'll make a list, put it together, check it twice, and put them in order by syllables for you. Send them to anybody who requests them. And you can use them as part of your spelling list when you start talking about double consonant words. So that pretty much, take a good look. Think about some of the strategies, some of the teachable moments of instruction or intervention that I gave you. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 things that I shared. This is page 90, and you had so much time, you probably could have written all of these sentences yourself. I'm going to clear all my drawings and come out of there and come back to talk to you for a second. Now we're going to switch to what I'm going to be doing throughout the summer and the entire school year is converting all of my reading, writing, and math tests and practice sentences and paragraphs and passages and poems and plays and every single thing that I've written digitally is going to be one by one converted to online format. So for those of you who enjoy the CREST summer training, you'll get all the passages that are done by the time the training is over included as part of your training. If you choose to continue, I'm going to have a $25 a month membership where all the passages that I come up with in social studies, science, reading, math, and multiple choice, in constructed type, short answer, extended essay type questions, whatever, editing, revising, anything that I make for all of the subjects and all of the grade levels and all of the types of questions, then you'll get all of those that I make during the next 5 weeks. And if I have to take more than 5 weeks, I'm going to. I just want to make sure I give you good quality content and you're getting a lot of bang for your buck on these videos. So my next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the online spelling slash homophone test together, and I need to get rid of this one. I want to take the other one. My other one is my homophones test. And so for those of you who are uh, part of the CREST online training, in the email, I gave you 5 sets of directions to follow. Type your name, but I would probably ask you, go ahead and watch my entire video first before you take the test. I'm sure there's going to be a mistake or 2 or 10 in there. If I notice a mistake, I have some paper here to the side. I'll write down the mistake that I see. I'll fix it. And then every single time that I myself or we, as we're doing it together, or you, if you see something, let me know. I already have my access code typed out, and it says to click to start the test. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start the test. And then what it shows is a code, a return code, so that, and I timed this test for 59 minutes. And just as a warning, because, and I told you this, even though I was told by the content director of TEA that editing and revising are only going to have 1-point questions, because we live in a world where us reading teachers are going to have to teach kids to find more than one mistake that's editing in a sentence. I went ahead and did you the favor of putting a couple of the sentences, the questions, with more than one mistake in a couple of different ways that you're going to see them on the test. So I'm going to click next so that you can see the test, and then I will go ahead and widen my screen so you can see more of what I see. Make sure that you can see everything that I'm seeing. All right, so it says spelling homophones. Now, even though it says homophones, and that's the main focus of this passage, there are several choices that are correct, that are the correct answer is not a homophone. It's not a word that sounds the same but looks differently. But let me just go ahead and read you the directions. When you see the sections, there's going to be 2 labeled editing, and as you can see here, it's going to actually say the magic words editing. So as soon as you see editing, you have to know that editing is always going to be cups, that the mistakes that we're going to see are capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, or sentence boundaries. That's all that sentence that change can be. And another way to tell when you're reading the directions that tell you a little bit more details about it, Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question. Well, um, because most selections, most passages are only going to be asking you about 2 or 3 sentences in the entire passage, I don't recommend that you teach your struggling writers to read an entire passage or even entire paragraphs. Your kids who are struggling readers need to focus just on the sentences that are being asked about, and perhaps the sentence before doing Michael Jackson's Moonwalk, or the sentence after doing Michael J. Fox's Back to the Future. So let's read with our little glow stick here something that's going to help us. Most editing directions are going to look something like this. Michael was asked to write an essay about whether or not a person needs to be famous to be successful. Read Michael's essay and think about what changes, corrections could be made to improve the paper, then answer the questions that follow. So what I'm showing you here is whenever it says the word change or changes or corrections, then that's another clue that it's going to be cups with 2 S's. The second S is the sentence boundaries with run-ons or fragments. Okay, so keep that in mind. The title is called Success. So you're going to see that there's a whole passage there, and with editing, the lower the grade level, the less quantity of sentences your kids are going to see. They're going to get 2 passages. This passage has 20 sentences. And so typically in a medium passage like this, you're only going to get a question about 3 of the questions, maybe 4. I don't know if they've decided yet, but I believe that it's only going to be, for sure, going to be 2 passages and possibly only 3 or 4 questions about editing. And you notice that it's a little bit different than the reading, because in editing and revising, they do you a favor of letting you see every single sentence number. So when they say what change should be made in sentence, the kids are not having to sit there and count. They can actually see the sentence number. And so on the STAR test, what your kids are going to see is the passage will be like this one here, will be side by side with the questions so that your kids can easily go from one to the other and scroll up and down. But I did, because many of you are having kids who struggle with reading an entire passage like this, that they can barely read a paragraph, and some of them can barely read a sentence. Some of them can barely write their name. So I want to make sure that I make the tests that I produce accessible for all grade levels. And this one, because a question is only going to be about 1 sentence, then what you're going to see is in the same page of the question, and you can always go back, as you can see here, I can go back and look at it if I want to, just by clicking on those arrows down there. But what I've done, so I don't have to go back and forth, is I've actually written the question and the sentence. And what I've done for this passage, because I really wanted to practice a lot of spelling, I went ahead and made at least 1 mistake on every single sentence of all 20 sentences. So there's going to be 20 questions that we're going to go over today. And again, this is not the way, but again, I would suggest it's a way to teach editing. Okay, so the first thing that we talked about was the importance of having some structure. So we should read the question, underline and label anything that we see that's important in the question and in the sentence that they're asking us about. We'll start to eliminate the answers that we don't like. And the cool thing about that E, it has 3 sticks. Okay, 3 sticks. Why? Because in most cases of multiple choice, we're going to eliminate 3 answers, and we're only going to select one correct answer. And hopefully your kids are going to be doing their strategies and showing you why it's correct. Okay. So you can go back and forth if you want to, but what I did for teachers who have kids who struggle with writing, all they have to do is look at the sentence that's right there in front of them. And so it'll, on the test, in most cases, in most states, it's going to have an A, B, C, or D over here on this left-hand column, okay? But at least it'll have boxes or circles. Something will be there for your kids to check. And so I'm going to take this test. I've timed it so that I can only have an hour to take the entire test. So at some point I'll have to speed up. We talked about in our penmanship and our one of our lessons about the importance of starting off slow. I have 50 minutes left. I can see that in the corner to make sure I don't waste my time. So as I read, underline label, here we go. Capital, putting on a cap. And I can track with my mouse with my dominant hand that I use, and most of the time, even if you're left-handed, most people use their right hand to move their mouse around. So your left hand can be the one that you do kinesthetic things with. Capital success is a funny concept for some people, period. The second I saw that word some, my brain said some plus add. Huh. I knew that that's the kind of sum that we're talking about. So I think that some is wrong. I'm going to underline the word change. And because of what I showed you on the folder, the thing that you can do right next to it is every time that you, I'm not going to do this on all of them, but whenever you see the word change, you can write cups, because 99.9% of the time, when it says the word change, not correct or best, the mistake is one of capitalization, usage, punctuation, or spelling. So you can also say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bracket. If you're going to make them go back and forth, then instead of underlining where you can underline periods and commas and cover them up accidentally, let's go ahead and make brackets where the sentence starts that they're asking about and a closing bracket where it ends. And then another suggestion is that you, if you're going to be showing me that I'm going to have to go into the passage, if I'm going to take that time, I might mark inside my passage if I'm allowed to do notes or annotations. Then I'll do that. If I'm not, then I'll do my notes in the place where I can make notes or on paper. All of these things that I'm showing you online can be done on regular paper for those of you that just really believe in doing the strategies, because the strategies are the process. How did you get to the answer? And if all you do is click one of those choices, I can't read your mind. And so I'm going to take away some points for students who aren't showing me the process, how they get to the part. So I could tell that it was that one. Capital, change success, double C, to success, single C. That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't, that one doesn't look right. So I'm going to take that one out. Change funny with double consonant to boony with single consonant. We learned, I don't think we're going to do that. So what you could do is teach your kids, why don't you use, if it allows you, like Zoom does, you can cross off the ones that you think are the ones that you don't like, or you can make an X out here since you're not allowed to touch the square or the circle, then you could do your strategies on the opposite side. Change some plus add to some more than one plural. And I think that's the one. Let me get rid of the other one first. Change people to peep. And I look at something, I don't think I've ever seen that version of people before. So I'll either exit on the word itself. That means the way it is already is fine. Or I can exit over here. So pick your strategy and just be consistent with it. So when we pick the answer, we'll change some to some, okay? And as I teach you the strategies, I'm gonna go faster and faster so that we don't have to spend too much time on each one, that I can get you through the process of the test. What change should be made in sentence 2? So what do we say? Let's underline change. And because it says sentence 2, we could write question 2. Question 2. This is just a suggestion. We put a Q here. Question number 2. And so I would go to sentence number 2 in the passage, and I would label that Q number 2. I would put the bracket here, and I'd put the bracket over in the passage. But because we have it right here in front of us, we can save some time and just look down below. But the other thing that we have to remember to do is, because we saw the word change, 90%, 99% of the time, it's going to be a mistake in capitalization, usage, punctuation, or it's possible that there's no mistake. Change, let me get my bouncy ball. Capital. So many people see the ocean. The picture of success as having lots of money, comma, power, comma, and fame. So if you have 3 things, it's money, comma, let me do it this way. Money, comma, power, comma. I'm always in a mirror image, so I've got to be careful how I do it. Let me see. Money, comma, power, comma, and fame. So 3 things can have 2 commas because of that Oxford comma that's right there. So my brain said something was wrong with the word sea, the ocean. So a teachable moment of instruction, let me draw, if I have an E and an E, what you do with your eyeballs is you see with your eyes. So since I'm seeing the picture, then that seems to be the one that I want to select. So if I'm going to select that one, I've got to explain. If I'm going to select first, then I've got to go back and tell you in words, written or spoken, what's wrong with the other answers. So is a number, not using thread. Change many to many. Man, one, many, many. So that might be confusing, kids. Oh, when you have lots of, when man is one and many is many, I don't want my kids to get confused. I've never seen that before. So I don't want to take a picture of a word that's wrong. So I would eliminate that one. Picture or picture. So there's 3 things to talk about here. A picture, an idea in your head, which is this case. When we're looking at picture an idea in your head, a pitcher on a baseball team Nothing here was about baseball or a pitcher that has liquid. Since that's not mentioned in there, I'm going to go ahead and stick with my original choice. There are my answers. Go to the next one, click my mouse, and let's go a little faster. So here's my first one, 2 changes. No, you won't have any editing questions with 2 mistakes on multiple choice, but you will have an essay that has 2 mistakes in lots of ways. Capital. This is especially thought of as true in the career of my choice, comma, acting, comma, which is which. I'm trying to decide which one, I'm trying to pick which one. I don't think that's the one, so I'm going to change that which. That's wicked. W-I, get it, to the other which. You're trying to make a selection. You're trying to choose, I choose. Is often a difficult road, a noun, to riches. So I'm going to change that verb road to the noun road, because yesterday I rode on the road, but this one's talking about the noun. So we're going to select those 2 answer choices. Sentence 4, capital. No one thinks that you've found success as an actor, no one being a singular person, until he or she, the one person that's thinking, has seen you on the big screen, comma, in magazines, comma, or winning capital Oscars, plural, period. I don't need to win all the Oscars. I don't need to have all these things, but they're not gonna think you're successful as an actor unless you're doing one of those 3 things. And I'm noticing that one of them didn't look right, and I think it's going to be the in is the place, as instead of, it's going to change to going in the where you're in a magazine and you're not, you don't live in an inn called a magazine. The magazine inn. No, it's inside, outside, above. So in, on, around. So if it's giving the location, like the where, instead of the actual place, a hotel, then you would choose that one. Number 5, contrarily, comma, I feel that one does not need to be famous in order to be successful, period. Change capital contrarily to contrarily. I can't do that because the first word must start with a capital. Change 1, the number, to one that you played a game in past tense and you were the winner. That's not what I'm doing there. Change to be or not to be to the insect be. And let's see if we're talking about insects. No. Change need to need. That one seems to be the correct. I have a need. And this is a word, but it's not used that way in this sentence. So I'm going to have to eliminate the need that's there and select the other one. Number 6, capital. I think that there are many famous people who aren't. I have a contraction that's up in the air. So I toss my ball up and then you separate. Are not necessarily happy with the way their lives, their plural, lives plural, turned out, period. So when you weigh something, you measure how many pounds or tons or ounces it is. If I have a way of doing things, that's a different one. So GH, I get heavy, or weigh, WAY, is different. So if I get heavy, that means my what I weigh is going to change. So I get heavy. Choose that one because I want to remember that the way is a choice. Number 7 is going to be giving your kids some exposure, thinking of the word overexposure, to selecting the right answer based on a drop-down list. Okay, well, I only see one word that's capitalized here, so process of elimination, it's going to have to be capital weather. And I want you to notice that sometimes your kids confuse whether as in a choice to do something or not to the other weather that doesn't have the H here, but it has the word heat hidden inside. So which one are we talking about? This one. So is it he or is it her? What am I saying? When you're making a choice, he or her, you might choose whether. Often can be uh, exposure, loneliness, comma, or constantly being criticized, comma. They can often take away a singular, a people. You know, a is singular, people is plural. A person, happiness, that doesn't sound right. A person's, that sounds right, but because the person owns the happiness, I can't use persons because it doesn't even exist. A person's, that one doesn't exist either because persons would be changed to people and it would be people's, like that one there. Okay. So what I want is a person, singular, possessive. One person owns that happiness. So if you draw a little wall, I can do this here. If you draw a little wall in front of the apostrophe and you say, oh, it's the person that owns whatever's coming up next, that's singular. If it belongs to people, you would use, and even though this is not the best example, you could use, write the word people. You change person, irregular word, to people, plural, singular to plural, person to people. And if it belongs to more than one person, if it's the people's choice, then here's how you do that little line thing. You say, okay, let me draw my little wall right in front. And you're going to say, whatever is next is owned by the people. And so that's how you separate singular possessive from plural possessive, or singular possessive from plural, more than one, possessive. So keep that one in mind. Let's see how I'm doing on time. 32 minutes, and I gotta be almost halfway done. So I'll pick up the speed a little bit for you. What change cups should be made in sentence 8, bracket around sentence 8, capital, in my opinion, comma, you have found success when you have discovered happiness in doing what you want to do, comma, no matter how many people know your you are name. Since that doesn't sound right, when I separate the contraction, I automatically was able to say, oh, on this one, even though you would say your name, did you make your kids toss the imaginary ball for the contraction? Your, as in you are name doesn't make sense. So we're going to change your to your. And we know there's no such thing as up and on. Happiness, we have to drop the Y and add the I when we're changing to happiness. And matter and matter. You got matter and matter. We're not even talking about emotions on that part of the sentence. If you look at it, no matter what, how many people know your name, no matter. So we weren't talking about emotions on that piece of the puzzle. So I would eliminate that choice. Number 9, capital. For example, comma, bouncing on imaginary ball on the table, and I'm moving with my mouse. I'm tracking with my hand, my mouse. An actor, singular, the subject, could easily feel successful once he has gotten paid to act, comma, even if it's merely in a small community theater, and you're only getting by, period. Now, I see a mistake. So like I mentioned, if I see one, I'll let you know about it. So I see 2 mistakes. One was accidental and one was on purpose. So when you see the next version of this emailed to you, those of you who are in the club, I can't change community with 1 T to 2 T's because it's already got 2 T's, and that's the wrong way. And I would never want to change something to the wrong way. So as I mentioned, I'll put it in my notes. I'm going to be fixing that on number 9 because I know that my mistake is another location in the sentence. It is often mistaken by kids by its owner is over there. So if I say it's to its, I'd have to say this, even if it is merely in a small community theater. So I can't change, as I said here, I can't change something that's not there to something that's there. That was just a mistake on my part. So when you see that final version, that won't be there. Paid to paid. When I pay you, yes, it's with a Y, but paid as in past tense, again, there's lots of situations where we drop the Y and put an I instead. And so there's tons of those that you'll have to teach your kids. So as I mentioned, one mistake that I've seen so far, you might have seen something else. I'll make sure I fix that before I send you this video. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go a little faster as we go through each question. I have 27 minutes, so I should be a little bit further along. I'm just trying to pace myself to do this part and the hour that I'm allowed. What change cups should be made in sentence 10? There's sentence 10, capital, moving my mouse and moving my spotter. That is certainly how I feel. And again, there's that eyeball, the body part. But since we're talking about the pronoun, then I'm going to change the I to I. There's no such thing as certainly. There's no such thing as feel. And you can't say make no change in a sentence if for sure there's something wrong. Yes, they sound the same, but you can tell just by looking that that's not the I that will touch. So use your eye to trust what your brain has taken a picture of before in the context. So I need the pronoun I in that case. Sentence 11, capital, an aspiring actor, looks kind of weird. So I don't forget, let me mark it. Could even feel successful acting without pay in small shows and films while earning money in a separate job on the side, period. So aspiring, when I aspire to do something, when I change it to aspiring, the rule is that you're supposed to drop the E and add ing. Actor to actor. I think that that's the one. Change shows, plural, to show apostrophe s. That means I have to own the next word like I should. Since I cannot own, you look right here on my highlighter, I can't own the word and, then I'm going to eliminate singular possessive. Separate, separate. There's adults that will often put that one, but my brain has seen the correct version of separate so many times, I know that that's my answer. Whoops, I forgot to change it to underline. Let me get my eraser. Take off that little mistake that I made there and go ahead and click on draw in green. I want to say yes. Take a picture of that. Separate, not separate. Even though it sounds better, separate, the way it looks is supposed to be that first one. So I'm not going to change it to the second one. So after we've done all our strategies, we will select the answer that we checked on the right, and we will clear our drawings, go to the next one. Let's go faster. Sentence 12, capital. You definitely do not need the red carpet and the paparazzi to be successful, period. Definitely with an E to definitely without an E. I could look it up, but my brain has already seen. I'm definitely sure that this is not the definitely that I want. Change red to red. Ooh. The past tense verb to the color. Can I have a red colored carpet? Yes. We're talking about the color. I think that will be our answer. Change carpet, singular, to carpets, plural. I don't need the red carpets and the paparazzi. I've heard this expression, the red carpet, and I don't think I've ever heard it used as carpets before. So I don't think that's the correct usage in this situation. Don't, do not, to doesn't, does not. Let's try it. You definitely does not need the red carpet. No, that doesn't sound right. So again, I'm going to eliminate. So the one that we're going to select is changing the verb to the adjective, the color. Here are drawings. What change, if any, should be made in sentence 13? Capital. The same goes for any career. And since I wasn't talking about the number 4, I already medically know I'm just going to change the number to something that you do something for, a reason that you, a purpose, for a career. Next. 2 changes. Again, we won't have any like this, but we're going to have them in Bill McDonald's online testing for editing and revising, so the reading students who also have to do essays will be able to practice fixing more than one mistake in their editing sentences. Capital, you don't need to be the most famous surgeon. Use my arrow to follow along this time. You do not need to be the most famous surgeon, singular, in the medical field, period. So my brain is saying, this doesn't look right, but again, I could look it up. And when you do, you're gonna see that if your brain is playing tricks on you, then look it up in the book and you'll say, yes, that medical looks a lot better. And field, there's a rule about I before E except after C and some other cool things. Those are the 2 that I'm going to select. Next, capital, a surgeon would be successful. If we're not talking about trees or materials, then right away I know that's my answer. I'm going to select it. Let me see why these other ones are not correct. Okay. Successful, double C, double S to successful with 1 C. You're only successful if you have 2 C's and 2 S's in success. C, yes. C, C, S, SA. Change surgeries to surgeries. As we've mentioned many times, when we have Y's, we've got to check. In lots of cases, we drop the Y and add IES. So I have a consonant and then my Y. I drop my Y and add IES. And so I would not change from a correct answer to an incorrect, because when you change a surgery singular to surgery plural, you have to drop the Y and add IES. Life, which is correct, to live, which is correct. That means you've got to check the usage. When saving someone's live, no. So the only answer that works is letter A, or selection number 1. Clear the drawings. Next. So my time is working. 18 minutes, I'm doing okay. Clear the drawings. Click on my mouse, click on next. There we go. All right, sentence 16. Capital. They don't need a story in a singular, well-known newspaper, singular, giving them, who's them, they, the people that we're talking about, credit and praise to feel successful. Teachable moment with instruction. Whenever you're only talking about 2 things, credit and praise, but you can teach your kids, again, this is a TMI, have them make a little stick man with a little circle, and there's only 2 things being talked about. You don't need a comma. Credit and praise. And a lot of teachers are telling kids, whenever you see a comma, whenever you see the word and, put a comma. Nope, not when there's only 2 things. So that was just a free extra thing for you. Let's change story, singular, to stories. A stories, no, doesn't make sense. Change to as in excessive to for. To feel successful. That does make sense. So I'll temporarily, I love that one. So I'll put a little heart there. Change newspaper, singular, to newspapers, plural. Since it was a newspaper, I know that I can't have more than one. Praise, something that you give or receive. To praise, something that you do, or the other praise, who praise on you, that's a P-R-E-Y-S. So again, you could do a teachable moment and say, oh, just in case they ever throw it at you. Another one that would be wrong in this situation would be praise, when they eat you, E-Y there. So let's find out which praise that we're doing. I don't need credit or praise, something they give to someone or receive. So since I'm not doing this kind of pray to a, a person that we have faith in or an object, so I think our best answer is going to be our heart answer. Change 2 to 2. Clear our drawings. What change should be made in sentence 17? Capital fame is often and amazing. So here's something I want to teach again. What you want to do is whenever you have a or an, you got to look at the next word and say, oh, let's think of opposites attract. If I have a word that ends, trying to find my little glow stick here. If this word ends with a consonant, then the next word has to start with a vowel sound. It doesn't have to be a vowel because we learned earlier there's some silent H's out there, but as long as it has a vowel sound, so if I could say I am an honest person, because that's a vowel sound, that could work. It's not honest and amazing. So again, that's a free one because they're not even, yes, they are asking about that in one of them. So I've already shown you we're not going to pick that. So we are going to change is to are. Let's find out. Fame are often. Since fame is one thing, we will not use are. Change and to up. Fame is amazing. Nope. Opposites attract. For I need a consonant sound on the next word. Off to of, part of something. A perk of something. Part of something, that's the one. So we will like that one. That's our star answer, the one we're going to choose. Change the period after the success to a question mark. So I see a period there. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, with my red, I'm going to draw a big question mark. And I would suggest that you have your kids do that on a piece of paper and that they practice reading questions that end with a question mark and start with other words. And so if this was a question, the first two words would have been switched around. Capital is fame, often an amazing perk of success, question mark? No. Since we weren't starting with a question word, then we wouldn't use a question mark. Think of a question mark as an ear where somebody's asking something and a dot where somebody's responding. So what you would do then, if you have your kids draw that, they can say, okay, now I'm going to write down all of the words I can think of that start question sentences. And there's probably 100 or more that you can think of. And so throughout the year, have your kids build their vocabulary bank of question starters. And Because it's the first word in the sentence, I'm going to give you a sneak preview of the next lesson. You use yellow, you can say slow. I've got to start with the capital, and I've got to double check. I would probably say, let's go ahead and circle, if it's just a rough draft, circle our first words to make sure we say, whoa, let's slow down and say, are we starting with the same word too many times in a row, or are we remembering to capitalize our first word in the sentence? And so I'm going to be teaching on the next lesson on capitalization. Slow, go until you have a subject and predicate, and go for the stop sign. So again, quick teachable moment of instruction there, down to 10 minutes. So for this one, we learned we're going to change of to off. Two mistakes in number 18. Be sure to click two choices that you think are correct in order to have a chance to earn both points possible. So if they only get one correct, they're only going to get 1 point if they get both correct. So capital, however, comma, opposites coming. Sometimes it can be, doesn't look right, synonymous with misfortune because all of the inconveniences that come with being well known, period. So for sure it's going to be change B to B. And I didn't, and I do know the mistake, but I'm pretending like I'm a student who's reading very quickly, and I was taking quick pictures instead of slowing down and saying, let's break words apart. Misfortune, misfortune. Misfortune is bad luck, and so it comes from the word fortune, which is good luck, and I don't get a fortune cookie with a CH, so I'm going to eliminate that one, because it just doesn't make sense. Now, if I break this down in conveniences, so when I broke it down, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was. Inconvenience, inconveniences, 5 syllables. Inconveniences. That's got 6 syllables. So the correct one is based on the word convenience. If it's a convenient thing, then it means something that's good for me. If it's inconvenient, it's something that's bad for me. So because that is the other one, when I actually sound it out, I can see from the sound of the syllables that something was missing there. And you can go look it up in the dictionary, but your kids might not take the time. They'll just take a picture of the word and think that it's correct instead of saying the word and breaking it apart piece by piece. And it's not until they break a word apart that they'll be able to figure out, oh, there's my answer. Clear my drawings. I've got 2 more, and I want to make sure that I close well with you guys. What change cups, sentence 19, make brackets. Capital, when it comes right down to it. Oh, right down to it, not right down to it. We're not writing anything. One does not need fame to be successful. So I can tell it's change right to right. And I'm holding up my right hand. So for you, it'll look like that. That looks like my right hand too, but it's the opposite. So you say, how many right with your right? Me. How many right with your wrong? No, your left. Me. So that's the correct answer. Let's find out why the other ones. When it comes right down to it, remove the comma. Because you're telling me a when statement that's kind of a long introductory phrase, you would typically want to leave that comma so that you can have your independent clause after the introductory phrase. Change does to do. When it comes right down to it. One do not need to be famous to need fame. If you want to talk like a caveman, you could talk that way, but I don't think that's the right answer. Change comes to come. When it come right down to it. When it come right down. Nope. So the only one that works is right to right. And our last one, capital. One just needs to be satisfied. Since we're not talking about the number, I can tell that's the answer. Doing what he or she, since there's only two, connecting a conjunction. I don't need a comma. Loves most in his life. So I'm going to change the number to the to be satisfied. Something that you want to do, to say, to be. All right. There's all your answers. Then what do you see next with my test? You'll see your response. Did you answer all of them? Yes, you did. Okay. My face, so I could click on finish. Are you sure you want to finish and submit your test? Yes, I do. One question could not be graded automatically. I wonder which one I did wrong. I didn't see, so I'm gonna have to look and see. Let's download and take a look and see. It didn't put in there, but what it's doing for me is downloading, so that when I send this final version to you guys, I can figure out which question it was where I either don't have an answer or something. Let's figure out which answer. Okay, so on number 16, you see here it's not green. That means that I didn't choose. When I'm making the test, I have to tell it which one is the correct answer. And so when I send you the final version, that I have to go in and tell the test, make sure that you know that B is the correct answer. And so I will be fixing number 9 in the question and number 16 in the answer choices, marking B as the correct answer, so that when you guys take it, you'll be able to get 100 and not this one like I did. So you see all those green answers, all right? The only reason that number 16 didn't have any green is because the test doesn't know which answer is correct until I tell it which one's correct. So there you have it. So if you decide as a teacher, you automatically will see that your student took the test and in this pretend case got a 96, but I really got 100 because I answered all of them correctly, and I hope that this was helpful to you. It does say that it's 2:17 a.m. that I finished the test. I actually finished at 1:17 a.m. because I'm in Texas, but whoever made my testing program must be in Eastern Standard Time. So that doesn't really matter, but it is going to give you the option if you decide to let your kids take the test, they'll be able to download it, and you can tell them, show me your score when you're finished, so that you can look at it and see which ones they got wrong. You could, you see that it does have the print option there. If you want to print, it's just one. Let's see how many pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And it's got the passage as well. So when you print the passage, what you can do this very first time, if you take it yourself, then go ahead and print the passage, but keep it separate. You can, what you can do is you can copy the passage down like I'm doing there, and then paste it into Word or some other program, and it will let you as a teacher go ahead and print just the tested version, but this is also in the binder. But of course, I've made some improvements and changes in the binder. So there you have it. spelling in an open-ended and multiple choice world. When you get your final version sent to you by email, when you see it, it will have number 9 fixed and number 16 will have the letter choice. So looking forward to having many more of you. We've gotten a lot of you signed up for the CREST training. If you feel like it's just not the right timing for you, the budget is not there for you, email me. God has really blessed me, and I want to pay it forward and bless other people in return. So if you feel like you uh, really want the training, but you just can't afford it, just kind of let me know what you're going through, what's the situation. A lot of people are doing purchase orders, and once I get the purchase order, then I send it to you. Some people, their purchase orders are being delayed, so when they order, they go ahead and pay with their own credit card, and then what I do is I just pay them back. I refund their credit card once I get the check from the school. That's how you can do it that way. Um, if you maybe can't afford to be part of the CREST webinar because it's online training, because it's a pretty big amount, then you could in August sign up for the monthly $25 a month. You get all of the passages that I make for that month online, like the one that you just saw. Uh, they will be tested many times for accuracy so that they'll have very few, if any, mistakes. And I hope that those of you who are not part of CREST enjoyed watching these strategies. This, like I said, was probably at least the second test itself was an hour, so I'm sure this was at least a 2-hour video. But I wanted to give you a really good taste out there in free land, what the CREST webinar online summer training series looks like. So those of you who are members, we'll see you on the next video on practical, cool, enjoyable strategies for capitalization. Then we'll do some open-ended and multiple choice online strategies for capitalization. Take care and God bless.